a stew, and her name is Minerva. Ouch! She's the flower of the flower. Ouch!
Welcome to the show.
Don't start. We haven't left yet.
All right, everybody, welcome. It is once again time for me. You've been getting a lot of me lately, and that's, you know, that's what happens when you launch a campaign. You've got to be on all the time, promoting. But we're going to try and work in a little bit of entertainment along with the promotion. I think that's only fair. My name's Aaron Lopresti. I've been working in this crazy comic book industry for 30 plus, like pushing 35 years right now. It's ridiculous. And yet here I am still grinding away. I remember telling myself before I turned 40, I'm going to be out of comics before I'm 40. I don't know where I thought I was going, but anyway, here we are years later, still in comics, not in mainstream, but still producing and at a very high quality. I'd like to put out there as well. So thank you guys all for joining me today. We've got a lot to talk about. This is a big show because we're finally going to get to the American Film Institute's top 10 films of all time. We've been counting down from 100. We started at 100, which of course we'll all remember is the great Ben-Hur, directed by William Wyler, starring Charlton Heston. And none of us can wrap our minds around the fact that that is 100 and should have been way higher. But anyway, we finally made it through. So we're going to look at the top 10 today. One thing I want to kind of bring up here before we get into the chat is Sam Keith passed away. No, I didn't know Sam. I never met him. But, you know, when you see somebody that's essentially my age, who was a year older than me, pass away, that's pretty unfortunate. And because even though I make fun of myself, you guys make fun of me for being old. 63, 62 is not that old, you know, and so it feels surprising when something like that happens. And I remember when I had Dale Keown on a couple of years ago, and we were talking about how we were getting to the age where people around us and people that we admired were starting to pass away. And it's a real harsh reminder of life. But anyway, we just did a examination of Sam Keith's cover work last week. And I had no idea that I didn't even know he was suffering from a condition or anything. And it's pretty wild that, I did that. And then, I find out a week later that he's no longer with us. So that's really unfortunate. But, I think we should, take a moment to recognize his contributions to this industry and what a popular artist he was. And by all accounts, a really great guy. So anyway, hate to see that, but Unfortunately, there it is. Okay, so on that happy note, let's see who's decided to journey over here with us today. Creative Phase here. She says, "Wow, we got a lot of Lopresti this week. It's really been nice." Well, thank you, Creative Phase. Appreciate that. Randy Howell, all the way from Canada, is joining us. Leg Kick is here because Leg Kick is always here until he proves otherwise. Matthew Muma joining us. Gemini Dragon says, "Hail, Aaron and CG, and congrats to your Cornhuskers on the Sweet 16." Yeah, this is like the, I mean, it literally is the best basketball team Nebraska's ever had, which is pretty remarkable to say that you have an institution that's been around that long, and just now this year they got their very first win in the NCAA tournament, and now they won twice and they're into the Sweet 16. So even if you're not a sports fan, I think a lot of people turn on March Madness just because you want to see a buzzer beater or somebody get stunned or shocked. And it always happens at least once a year, and oftentimes more than that. And that Nebraska game was a nail biter and went right down to the last shot. So anyway, enough about sports. Pantheon is here. Eric and Boyd Art. Corey Landis is joining us. Marcus Killergoop, purveyor of all things pop culture knowledge, is joining us. Mark Pengren, there you are. Says, "We love you, Aaron." Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that very much. 10-8 Comics is here, pushing Garbage Man as he should be. There's the shirt. Not a lot of people got the white shirt. A lot of people are not into white shirts. They're into black shirts because I guess black is more slimming. I always liked white shirts. I don't really like black shirts that much, but this also came in a green that actually works really well. So that was the more popular buy, but I got one of each because I made them. So I figured, why not? Why not help yourself and get a couple extras? Let's see. Spaceman is here. Best Age Comics. There's Henry Thrun. He says he's watching or listening while making dinner. Henry, I sent your book out Friday or Saturday. Thank you for the order from the website. Came in to get Wraith of God 3 because he missed the campaign, but went to my website to get hooked up, and that's what you do. Oh, Henry says, my dad passed away just over a month ago now. Yeah, that is really, really difficult. One of my best friend's moms just passed away a week ago, and was 96. My dad passed when he was 79, so that was now 15 years ago, but it was tough. I mean, it's tough when you lose your folks. So my condolences out to all of you guys who have suffered that, because I know what it's like. Spaceman says, I turned 64 this week. Too many men in their 60s dying these days. It's really disturbing. Yeah. Do you think it's that we eat like crap and we don't exercise? Do you think maybe that might have something to do with it? It probably does. As I've already eaten 2 chocolate sea salt caramels today. Aaron, the late night Barbaric Adventures stream was great fun. Thank you. Yeah, I'm you guys, I'm going to be streaming quite a bit going forward because Wraith of God was very successful campaigns. Even the third one, which just missed 100K, was still by large standards pretty successful. So I didn't have to work as hard promoting those. When you come up with something new, like we're doing with Barbaric Adventures, I think it requires a lot more legwork, so to speak. And I've kind of fallen off. When I first got into Comicsgate, I was streaming all the time. And I think I mentioned this on one of the streams or recently. My wife was getting pissed at me because I was streaming so much. And so over the years, I backed off and backed off and backed off. But I'm still doing, 3 shows a week. And with this show right here, which is every Sunday, I'm on and off Comicsgate Kings on Monday night. but I'm there semi-regularly. Tuesday night, the professionals. Wednesday is Graybeards. And we had the landing party, which is now switching to something else, but we're still going to have it. So when Thursday rolled around, I was like, oh, I don't have to stream. I can, it's almost like a vacation in the sense that it was like Thursday and Friday, I can work. I can just work on Thursday and Friday without, show planning or anything else. And, but I need to get out there. I need to get out there in front of the masses. And so I'm going to do it. So I'll be looking for a lot of what I think will be most of them are going to be draw streams, just me working on the book or similar projects or things related to the campaign. So if you're into that, or if you just like to watch, stuff being created, then, keep your eyes open, because sometimes it'll be late at night. Sometimes it'll be in the morning. I try not to stream against other people because that just diminishes your audience, but sometimes you go when you can go, and that's the way it goes. You can go when you can go, and that's the way it goes. There you go. 3 goes right there. All right, who else we got in here? There's Henry Angelus, white shirts and marinara sauce cost me. Yeah, it's funny. You can wear any color shirt and be eating spaghetti, wherever, and nothing. You wear a white shirt and you are guaranteed to spill something on it. You're guaranteed. I just put this on for the show. So I haven't, it was like, I just put it on. I'm not touching any food. I'm drinking some water during the show, but this is going to stay clean, at least throughout the course of this show. Randy Howell, all the way from Canada, sends $5. Thank you, sir. He says, Aaron is not wearing a sweater. Is he trying to look younger? I was out. My lawnmower won't start, and my backyard looks like a jungle. I've got to get it thing mowed, and my lawnmower won't start. So I was working on that, trying to get it to go, and I couldn't get it. And so let's just say I'm overheated at the moment. I did, I cleaned up a little bit to be presentable for you guys, but yeah, I'm still kind of running a little warm right now. I watched a bunch of videos. They all say it's the carburetor, and you can fix it in 10 minutes. And I'm like, you're freaking crazy. These guys taking the carburetor apart, and then they take the lid off to get the carburetor and go, yeah, I can do that. But then they start taking the carburetor off, and they start taking the carburetor apart. And I'm like, seriously? So I'm kind of faced with the dilemma of taking it someplace to get it fixed, which is going to cost at least $100, just whatever, and probably more, or possibly more. Or I can just get a new lawnmower for $150 or $175. So I don't know what to do. I think we'll figure it out as we go. Okay, that's enough of me crying. Aaron must have flexed those guns. I used to have guns I could flex, not so much anymore. Whatever's left over from the years of working out is still hanging there, but not in quite the shape it was. In fact, not even close. Who hosted the bros this past Tuesday? We had no bros because it was St. Patty's Day, and a couple of guys, namely Billy and Graham, are of very strong Irish blood, and that is a major day of celebration for the Irishmen. So we just didn't do it, and so we'll be back this Tuesday, and I don't know who's hosting. Was it Andy? No, it was Art just hosted, didn't he? So I think it's Billy. Yeah, I think it's Billy's hosting. Anyway, there's Pity Ma. Let's see. Let's see. 10-8 Comics says, I love draw streams. Easy streaming is what we're all aiming for. Am I right? Well, the thing about draw streams is it's like it's hard to talk while you're drawing because you're trying to concentrate on what you're doing. And then also, and who's that clown that showed up on that late night draw stream that was making rude comments about me? Normally I don't care, but for some reason I got under my skin that night. I don't know. But yeah, so I try to at least oh, he's making fun of me. So what is this guy, a teacher or something? And whatever. But I try to explain what I'm doing. And I would never, like, you see the painting behind me there. I would never do a painting tutorial because, I haven't done it enough that, I'm just still kind of winging it. So, but I do know markers and I do know a black and white work. And so I was just explaining what I was doing, and this Yahoo showed up and kind of annoyed me. But anyway, enough about that. When we lived in Florida, Shelly was like, and it was like, it's close to 100 degrees. And it was like 90% humidity. And she's like, I'm going to go mow the lawn. I go, no, you're not. I go, I will take care of it tonight after it cools off. I will mow the lawn. She said, no, I really want to do it. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So she goes out and mows the lawn, comes back into the house and faints from heat exhaustion. So I think that's probably the last time Shelly mowed the lawn. I can't remember. That's when we were living in Florida during the cross-gen days. So, okay. Our sequential treasures with, that's a bad joke. That's just bad. Let's see here. Who else did I miss? Anybody? Ariok says CG is full of ancillary jerks who had nothing in the way of creativity. It is unfortunate, but true. There's David. Speaking of jerks, no, I'm kidding. There's David. I have got a non-binding agreement with David that he's going to do some streams with me while I'm promoting Barbaric Adventures, some of these rando draw streams. Because that's what David and I used to do before it morphed into Graybeards. It was just me and David doing little competitive drawing shows that was actually pretty good stuff. So we're going to do a little bit of that here in the coming days and weeks. I says, it's 100 degrees here and I mow the lawn, you wimp. I mow the lawn all the time when I was in Florida. I'm just saying Shelly couldn't handle it. I'm not saying I couldn't handle it. But, she was, your wife gets adamant. And it's like, oh, I want to do it. And you're like, hey, I'll sit on the couch and watch TV while you're out there. Fine. And, well, it didn't work out for her. But at least she waited until she was done mowing before she collapsed, because then I would have had to go out and finish the job. And so anywho, okay. Oh, there's Michelle Bowers with her mighty sword is in the chat. Thank you for joining us, Michelle. All right. Well, that's pretty much the that's exactly right. New segment. It's Shelley. Oh, I like that. I'm going to do that. Yes. Yes, I am. Why did that strike me? Why did that little comment right there strike me? It didn't sit well with me. So I don't even know if you deserved that right there, but it just kind of struck me wrong. And so I'm lashing out. Okay. So because we used to in this spot, back in the old show, we would, eat snacks and what have you, and then look at Frazetta. But that's, those segments are gone. They're gone with the old and we're in with the new. So we're just going to jump right into things here. And I think if I can find I got so many windows open that, there it is. Okay, good. We're just going to jump right into our, sorry about that. We're going to jump right into our regular scheduled segments and get this show rolling. I can find the, there it is. That's right. We're going to start, instead of shoving it off to the end of the show, we're going to start the show with it. Kind of like the Academy Awards will start off with either the Best Supporting Actor or Best Supporting Actress. Or do they call it Best Supporting Actor? Best Supporting Female Actor. No, Best Female Actor in a Supporting Role. They don't call them actresses anymore, right? Because that would be offensive. So we're going to start the show with a little, get thing rolling with this week's expensive comic. This is one that I want to get, and it's actually something I think I can get. Not at the moment, but it's not so high priced that it's, out of everybody's realm of possibility. This is, of course, Whiz Comics number 25 with the classic C.C. Beck cover with the turbine there. Why is this comic special? I'll tell you why. Because it has the first appearance of Captain Marvel Jr. Okay, why are they showing us the back? I want to see the front. There we go. Now, this was on Heritage many moons ago, so the price isn't even remotely accurate. We'll take a look at the current price on this. But so this is 7.5, which is a VF minus. So we have the origin and first appearance of Captain Jr., and it's also the first continued story through different titles. So what happened was this was the first part of a story that showed the first appearance, origin and first appearance of Captain Marvel. And he's like fighting, I think, Captain Nazi. And it continued in Master Comics, oh boy, 20, 21, 27, something like that. So it was a cross-title company crossover, the first one ever. So you would buy Whiz Comics number 25. You got the first appearance of Captain Marvel Jr., but then you'd have to go buy Master Comics to get the second part of the story. So was that the first genius move by a publisher to get people to buy multiple copies or to buy more than one book? Maybe. So you've got Mac Rayboy did the art, I would assume, on the Captain Marvel Jr. story. C.C. Beck, of course, did the cover and the Captain Marvel story. Now, back in the day, this book was outselling Superman. Captain Marvel was more popular than Superman. Thus, DC Comics sued them. Now, they didn't really have a case, but they kept suing and suing and suing. And then when you get to the end of the 40s and sales started dropping and all that kind of stuff, they just, Fawcett just folded and gave up. And ironically, DC Comics then bought Captain Marvel, a character that was allegedly ripping off Superman, but it clearly wasn't. But they just didn't want the competition, and they were getting kicked in the butt by the competition. So they sued them into oblivion because apparently they had more money than Wiz did, or pardon me, Fawcett Comics. And Fawcett just got finally tired of fighting the lawsuit, and the books were dropping off and not selling, and comics, became sort of not the big moneymaker they were in the 40s. When they got into the 50s, you saw a lot of companies go under and superheroes go by the wayside. So kind of a tragic tale of DC Comics bullying the competition. But anyway, this is a classic, and a 7.5 is out of my price range because this was 2020. So it was 6 years ago now. It sold for about $8,000. And I would imagine because of the rise in comic prices because of COVID, and then the subsequent drop in value across the board, we might still be in the same neighborhood for this book, around $8,000. Well, probably not. It's probably more like 10 to 12, but still, I could get a 5.0 of this for less than $5,000 if I had $5,000, which I don't right now, but who knows what'll happen in the future. So let's take a look and see what Go Collect has to say about all of this. Here we go. All right. So let's see what that. So we got 101 total graded copies. Again, I like to go back to that first appearance of Archie, which only had 40 some graded copies. So you could argue that all Golden Age comics are in some degree scarce. This book is honestly, though, is not that hard to find. If you're if you're a collector and you want this book, you can find someone who has it and is willing to sell it. But there's not a ton of these, clearly. Okay, so we got the most. There's 7 6.0s. There's 6 7.5s. You get up here to that 9.6. That's probably the mile high copy, or that 9.2 is probably the mile. One of those. It's a pretty clean book for 1941. That's pretty impressive. Okay, so let's take a look at the fair market. Wow! Oh my gosh, that guy paid $8,000, and right now this book in a 7.5. The fair market value on this is only. What happened to my? It's supposed to show me my sales. Here we go. So look at this. So if you go back to 2017, it was about 3,800. Then in 2020, you guys can see this, right? Okay. So then in 2020, that's the sale we were just looking at on Comic Connect for 8,000. Then it went up in 2021. So we're right in the heart of COVID, right? Went to 9,100. Then it dropped down in 2022 to 84. And then just recently in February, this 7.5 on a heritage auction only sold for $5,800. So whoever bought this one for $8,000 or this one for $9,000, I wonder if it could even be the same book. I wonder if it is. Let's see. This doesn't have the certification number showing, but I wonder if it is. But anyway, so then it sells for $5,800. So I could actually get a decent copy of this right now if I can get in on it before it goes up. But it is a classic cover. I love the figure work. This is what I loved about C.C. Beck. He didn't put a lot of detail in the sense that we know of detail, but his figure drawing was so good that I am a huge fan of his stuff. And I would love to get a copy of this book. Maybe someday I will. But out of all the books we've looked at so far, this is the most affordable one, and in some ways, one of the most iconic. So there you go. Henry Angela says, I'd pay $10 for that. Sam Goyer says, I used to collect floppies, but I'm not into that anymore. I'd rather collect omnibuses and hardbacks of classic stories. I've told this story before, but Dan DiDio, I remember being really sort of upset back in the day at DC because the collections of the older books were outselling the new comics. And I was kind of like, well, Dan, what does that tell you? So I haven't been to a comic shop in quite some time. That's why we continue to do what we do in the independent market here in Comicsgate land, if you will. At least I can only speak for myself, but I'm trying to bring back that sort of with comics, the stuff that got me interested in the comics. Most of you guys came in the 80s or 90s. The early 90s were different because of Image, but it was still a very exciting time. The 80s was like the second renaissance of comics, and there was so much great stuff going on, from Simonson's Thor to Miller's Daredevil, and then later Dark Knight, and Burns X-Men. It was just Zek's, work on Captain America and the Punisher. There was just a lot of, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the black and white craze. 80s were just like a great time for comics. And I just don't feel like, and you guys will probably back me up on this, that's where we're at. That's where we haven't been there in a long time in the comics landscape. When you have, I'm trying not to soapbox here, but when you have, ideologues taking over not creative people, but ideologues taking over the creative taking over the creative jobs in comics and just producing political propaganda garbage. Where's the fun? Where's the enjoyment? And it's enabled us to kind of step in and produce books that you guys will go, yeah, I remember when comics were cool like this. And that's specifically what I'm doing with Empire Comics. Is anybody that's read my books, you're going to get that kind of traditional comic book feel to them, with hopefully a little more depth than sometimes we got in some of the stories. But again, with Miller and Simonson and others, Starlin, there was some depth in those things. There was heart and soul in those things, and they were moral tales that were well drawn and well written and not preachy, but if they had a message, the message was inherent through the story. We just don't see any of that anymore, and that's what we're trying to keep alive. And it's it segues us right into this. Speaking of that, take a moment to look at this campaign. Okay, this is Barbaric Adventures #1. It's formatted sort of to be kind of like a Savage Tales type magazine from the 70s, 8.5 by 11, 64 pages, black and white, but it's all gray tones and ink wash. So it's has much more depth artistically than even just a straight black and white would have. And I know there's some of you that are adverse to non-color, but I would strongly recommend that you get behind this, because it's not just kind of a random collection of stories. You have debuts of Primal Zone, which is a new ongoing series from me. Dan Lawless's book or story is an ongoing feature. David Williams' story is more of a standalone, but it has such moral and emotional depth that it's really, it's not just kind of a throwaway fill-in story that, I'm putting in the back of the book. There's some really good stuff in this. And the artwork is top-notch. I'm telling you, the stories are top-notch. And I would recommend strongly that you guys get behind this and get in on this, because I think it's going to be one of those projects when it comes out. If you haven't backed it and you don't have your copy, you're going to wish you did. So here we go. My story is called Primal Zone. As I mentioned, it's the story of a reluctant hero cast into an interdimensional world of dinosaurs and cavemen. That's a very simplistic overview of this, but there's my painted cover. How about that for Barbaric Adventures #1? That, of course, features my story. David's story is that of a young knight battling demons in search of his heroism, inherent heroism. And I can't give you a specific description of the story, because there's twists and turns in here, and then we don't want to give anything away. So anyway, that's kind of a very brief overview, but this is David's painted cover in the tradition of Savage Tales and Savage Sword. So we did all painted covers on this. Dan Lawless, of course, contributed a cover. This is cover C, and this features Dan's character and his story, Mars Madness. So it takes place on Mars, but it's after it was terraformed and it was a high-tech society, and it's all collapsed into chaos, into barbarism. And here's your hero leading a rebellion against the powers that be that still cling to control. So it's a nice combo sci-fi barbarian story. And then we got the great Joe Jusko. How about that for a coup? Got Joe to come in and paint the fourth cover for us. Of course, Joe is, probably the most prominent cover painting artist in the business these days. And this is featuring the character that I'll be previewing a little preview story in this book. This is Freya, the Ice Princess and Yeti Killer. And so you're going to get 3 features plus this little preview in this book, and it's 64 pages, jam-packed. It's going to be square bound. We're not going to staple it at the spine. It's going to be a nice book, and we've got some high-end paper, but it kind of resembles newsprint. We're going to go with that because we want to keep that nostalgia thing rolling, but it'll be much, much higher quality than what you would have seen back in the day. Here's some interior artwork. First 2 pages of My Story Primal Zone. You can get an idea of the ink wash and stuff and the technique behind that. There's Dan Lawless's. You'll see pinned over on the right-hand side is the 4-pack plus. That gives you all 4 covers plus the sketchbook, which I haven't shown you yet, but I will in a minute, for $105, which is a $15 saving. So that's a good deal right there. In fact, I pinned it because I thought it was such a good deal. The other thing that's a really good deal is the Barbaric Big Box, which is more expensive, but you get everything in the campaign, all the covers, everything, but you get 2 bonuses. You get this portfolio right here, signed by me with an illustrated envelope with these 4 prints. You can only get it in the Big Barbaric box. And then we have a 5th cover. This is the color rough. This is not the finished piece. It'll be a finished painting, much like the one you see over my shoulder right there. And that'll only be available in the Big Barbaric box. So you can't buy this cover separately. You can only get it if you buy the big box. We do have stretch goals, most of which will be trading cards. And if we get up to 100 grand, then we'll do something really cool and special. There's the sketchbook, 8.5 by 11, 32 pages, very similar to the Kit Carter sketchbook. In fact, the format's exactly the same as the Kit Carter sketchbook. It'll be signed by me. This Snow Hunt print is available. That is Freya, our Ice Princess, and Yeti Hunter. And this comes signed and very limited. It'll only be produced to order for this campaign, and then it's not going to be available. You can get this cool logo laser etched into a shot glass. So it'll be the 5th in our shot glass series. There's going to be 6 total. And then we will produce a shot glass holder for it that you can get. So if you've been collecting the shot glasses, don't miss this. Then, of course, there's a bunch of original art for sale. This has already been sold. This has already been sold. This is still available. This has been sold. This is available. This is available. This has been sold. That's David's cover. And my cover is still available. So the way Indiegogo is set up, you got to scroll. There's nothing on the side. The perks are not on the side anymore, or the rewards, as they're now called, they're at the bottom. So you just got to keep scrolling down. And you can order the 4-pack plus shot glass. If you just wanted a shot glass for some odd reason, you can just order that. Each of the covers are available separately. We've got combo orders. Barbaric Adventures #1 plus the sketchbook. Barbaric Adventures #1 plus the sketchbook plus the print. Here's the aforementioned big barbaric box. This has everything that we just showed you in it. So you get all 4 covers plus the 5th extra cover only available in the box. You get the shot glass. You get the print, the Yeti print, snow hunt print, the sketchbook, and then the limited edition portfolio print set. That's only available here. And then, of course, all the original art options that are still available. A lot of them have sold, but if they're still purple, they're still available. And you keep scrolling and you get all the add-ons. You can add on everything from the campaign, but you can also add on Wraith of God if you missed it. If you missed 1, 2, 3, if you missed Kit Carter, if you missed Garbage Man, if you missed Power Cubed, if you want that Kit Carter sketchbook, I've got some of those left. So these are all available to add on to your order. And if you go all the way down here, you'll see there's risks and challenges. There's no risks. I always fulfill, so don't worry about that. Refunds and cancellations. Refunds are available up to the day the campaign closes. And then we offer a 90% refund 2 weeks past the closing date of the campaign. And that is only because Indiegogo is demanding it. I usually am not that generous. Once the thing is closed, I don't do refunds, or normally don't, but we're being forced to. So hopefully you won't refund after that. And I only say that because I had somebody, after I already shipped them their books, demanded a refund for Wraith of God 3 after they hadn't received them yet, but they'd already been shipped out, and said, I shouldn't have to wait a year for a book, and, what am I supposed to say to that? So I just told them it's too late. I already shipped you your books. And so anyway, they filed a claim against me on their credit card, and got the Indiegogo, of course, didn't listen to me and gave them the refund anyway. So they got their books for free. So it wasn't that nice. So anyway, I would appreciate if you guys don't do that to me at the end of this campaign. I would really appreciate it. The other thing is the shipping costs, as you'll notice, do not get charged when you check out. In fact, your credit card won't get charged until later, I guess, when the campaign ends, and then the shipping will be added on, and then your card will actually get charged. I don't know why they're doing it this way. Don't ask me. I'm not, Indiegogo sold out to some gaming company in Poland. They revamped the whole site. Everything's different. So it's all a learning process for me as well. But anyway, hopefully it all works out for good in the end. So anyway, there you go. We're at 261 backers. Realistically, we need to get this up to at least 600 backers. And I think we'll do that. But it all starts with backing as soon as you can. Get in there and back. Spread the word so that we can deliver you very quickly a really high quality book. So there you go. That is your sales pitch for today. John Platt says, Hi, Aaron. I'm here in the UK and I'm interested in backing the Barbaric campaign, but I wanted to know how much shipping to the UK would be. It depends on what you order, because, if you order one book, you're probably going to be $20 some. If you order a bunch of stuff, it might be as high as 30. I don't know off the top of my head, but just from memory, from other campaigns that I've shipped, we shipped a lot to Europe, obviously. Generally, they're it's the United States is the cheapest, obviously, then Canada, which ain't that cheap, but is cheaper than Europe, and then Australia is like the most expensive, in New Zealand. But it's usually in that $21 to $35 range, depending on how much you order and the weight and all that kind of stuff. But that's not going to be, unfortunately, again, you can't like we used to be able to do it, where you'd go and check out and it'd show you what the shipping was. They don't allow us to do that now. So the shipping gets added later. So that's the best ballpark I can give you. So Henry Angeles says, why no PDF option? It could help those who won't buy because of shipping overseas. Well, I'll tell you why. There's a couple of reasons. One, you can't well, just in practical business sense, you can't sell a digital download for very much money. And so it becomes a big chore for us for very little return. And also, I'm not a big fan of digital art, period. And I look at these, yeah, it's reading material, but it's also art. And I wanted to create, I'm very old fashioned, big surprise, right? I'm painting on canvas, not on the computer. I like physical books. And I know there's some people that would jump in, but probably more people if it was available that way. Maybe somewhere down the line for people that just refuse to buy because the shipping's too much or whatever overseas, that when I get my Patreon set up and running, perhaps I would offer, these books after the fact as a digital download or something. I don't know. I have to look into it, but it's not, it doesn't make a lot of economic sense for us because we're trying to raise a certain amount of money. I mean, just to be transparent here, you're trying to raise a certain amount of money so that you don't go in the hole, that you can actually produce the project. And it doesn't make much sense to invite people to spend a third of the money on a digital that might otherwise buy the hard copy, which is what you really need to sell to raise the money to actually do the project. So that is kind of, the truthful way of looking at it. So there you go. What are you saying, Pantheon? Aaron, you should get a side hustle as a Wall Street trader. That way, all of that Wall Street cash can go to vintage comics. Just think, you wouldn't blink at a 9.4. I know. I don't know if I can't hardly handle the stress of doing this. I can't imagine myself on Wall Street. I mean, I am high strung. You can tell by the way I fidget in this chair that I'm just like this. And I don't know if I could handle Wall Street. I think my head would explode. So there you go. Yeah, I don't even think it'd be that high. But again, if you bought something that was heavier, you're getting up in a higher price range. What I have, the advantage that I have is I ship through Pirate Ship, and they have, some people don't know this because you have to ask for it. They won't just give it to you. But if you have an account with Pirate Ship, they actually have a discounted rate for international shipping. That's pretty good. So it's not as brutal as it is, with just straight up going to the post office. So it took me a while to discover that. In fact, I just discovered that on this last Wraith of God campaign. And so I'm hoping that Indiegogo allows me to set up flat rate shipping. In other words, or I should say per reward shipping. So you could say, okay, well, if you buy this reward, it's $8 in the US, it's $16 in Canada, it's $25 in the UK, it's $30 in, because that's what I've always done. So you guys know exactly what you're paying. But maybe and so if they allow me to do that, I can then pass on those discounted savings from Pirate Ship to you guys, which, so I'm trying to do. I'm trying to keep my shipping as low as possible. In fact, I don't really charge for my time shipping. I know a lot of guys do, and that's fine. I mean, it takes time to do that stuff, but I want to make sure that my cost of my shipping supplies is covered, and then whatever the shipping actually costs is what I'm trying to charge. So anyway, I might put in I should put in a detailed explanation in the description there under shipping, so that if people bother to scroll down that far, they could actually read that and get that. Anyway, okay. Moving right along.
Moving right along.
Took me way too long to find that. Okay. Let me look on the old list here. Okay, you guys, let's jump in and take a look at the final 10 movies on the American Film Institute's top 100 list. Let the controversy rage. Here we go. Number 10. Drum roll, please. Yes, it's the classic, The Wizard of Oz. I don't know how I feel about this one. Especially considering it was 1939. It was spectacular entertainment. The full color, the makeup was fantastic in this film. If you really look at the job they did on Ray Bolger as a scarecrow and the Tin Man, Jack Haley, even the lion, Bert Lahr's lion, is really, really good. This is a really good looking film. And I want to say it was Victor Fleming, wasn't it? I think it was. But who directed it? It was a complete disaster, box office failure when it came out. But then because of being run on TV every year during, when did they used to run this? Was it wasn't it Halloween? When did they run it? Was it Easter? I can't even remember. No, Easter, they 10 Commandments. What did they always ran this at a certain part of the year on TV. And then it became this sort of legend. It's kind of like It's a Wonderful Life, which of course was not a big hit when it came out, but then because it got run at Christmas time every year for, it became like a classic. And that's sort of what's happened here. I used to love it as a kid, but the older I got, maybe I've just seen it too much that it's become, they're saying, Creative Face saying it came on at Thanksgiving. Okay. And Spaceman is confirming that Victor Fleming did direct it. So this should be in the top 100. Should it be a top 10 film of all time? I don't know, maybe. Next segment, movies not as good as Jaws. Well, okay, Jaws is number 1 on my list all time, but sure. I miss Snack Time. I miss Snack Time. Maybe we should go back to Snack Time. Should I bring back Snack Time? You guys want to watch me eat on screen? Why not? Maybe I should bring it back. Spaceman says it is a brilliant movie. Yeah, I say that, and I could be wrong, but it seems to me, I didn't research it right before the show, so I'm not, it seems to me that it did not do that well at the box office, and it sort of has become a classic over time. I could be wrong, though. I'm always wrong. When I think I know stuff, it's when I prove that I'm completely wrong. So somebody can look it up if they want. But anyway, so there it is at number 10, according to the American Film Institute. I'd probably put it in my top 50. I don't know if I'd put it up that high, but in terms of cultural impact, it's a top 10 film, just because, like I said, being shown on TV every year forever, it's such a part of our culture now that, you have to suggest it to be the top 10. Now, when the first list came out in 1997, it was number 6. So it's dropped 4 spots to this revised list. So they even had it higher. So I guess, what do I know, right? I guess maybe what do I know? All right, now this next one, there it is. It lost over $1 million in 1939. That's what I thought. Okay. As good as Ben-Hur? No, I agree. But even from a technical standpoint, those chariot scenes in Ben-Hur were unbelievable. So, yeah. Well, that's why whenever you publish lists like this to create conversation, and here we are. This one is a great film, but I don't think it belongs this high. And maybe if I open the right window, we could actually see what I'm talking about. Now, some of you might get on my case about this. I don't know. I'm curious to see what you guys think about this. Because I am a huge Hitchcock fan, and I do think Vertigo is a great film. But for my money, Rear Window is better. And you could argue that North by Northwest is better, although it doesn't have the gravitas that this film does. It doesn't have the layered psychological stuff going on that this movie does. This is a very complex film. It's also a very long and slow film. And I'm suddenly getting cold. So my lawn mowing adventure wore off. So I'm going to put my coat on. Okay, here we go. And what a late 50s, early 60s movie poster design this is. But what do you guys think? Should this be in the top 10? I'd put it in the top 25, but like I said, Rear Window was like way lower than I thought it should have been. I would put Rear Window in the top 10. I just think that's just a phenomenal film. And the way that Hitchcock limited himself by always being in the apartment with Jimmy Stewart. And let's face it, Jimmy Stewart's character in Rear Window was just as complex and just as, what should we say? And he wasn't really an anti-hero, but wasn't a clean-cut guy. And, same with Vertigo. So Jimmy Stewart played a very similar type character in both films. And for me, Vertigo, I guess I'll watch if it's on and I have plenty of time because it's freaking long. But I will not miss Rear Window. That is a must-see for me. Let's see. So a lot of people say this is their favorite Hitchcock film, some of you in there. So some of you agree with this. Vertigo isn't excellent. Some people say Rear Window is better. So I guess it's, you've got, because we had Psycho was number 14, I believe, on this list. Psycho is a more enjoyable film because it's more of, again, this is more of a psychological thriller. And it really is a slow burn, but it does pay off pretty strong at the end. So yeah, Psycho was 14. I got to go back and look and see how far down was Rear Window. Rear Window was 48. 8 spots above Jaws. That's just not right. But that's a good, 48 is good, but Rear Window is way better than that, I think. So, but we all have our favorites, and what the heck do I know? No, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with any of this. Kim Novak was the hottest Hitchcock babe ever. Kim Novak was, yeah, I love Kim Novak. I thought she would have been a great Kit Carter if it had been around back in the day. Okay, so we go from Vertigo at number 9. Now, Vertigo, this is also interesting. This kind of supports my position. Vertigo, in the original list in 1997, was number 61. It's moved up 52 spots in 10 years. So, what? I don't even know who's voting on this stuff. Now, this is really interesting because there's some people that hate this movie and don't think it's that great. And others, of course, think it's brilliant. It was 9 on the first list in 1997, has moved up 1 spot. So it's basically in the same position it was on the original list in 97. It is, of course, Steven Spielberg's 5th film on the top 100 list. That is Schindler's List. That's right. There's they're fighting about Grace Kelly or Kim Novak. I think Grace Kelly is beautiful. Kim Novak is saucy. So this is an excellent point, and I think you're right, Eric and Boyd Art. Top 100 per decade, because it really is. If you're talking about all time, it just gets weird. I did this with comic book covers. a while back, and I broke it up by the decades ago. The best top 10 covers of the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. Because it's really difficult to make these lists, and that's why they're kind of stupid. But they're an exercise in conversation, and that's exactly what we're having. There we go. People are kind of like, eh. Spaceman says Private Ryan is so much better than this. I've heard that. I have not seen this movie because it's the material, the subject matter is so grim that I just really didn't want to watch it. So this is one of there's 18 films on this top 100 that I haven't seen, and this is one of them. So I can't even comment, but I have heard, I have people, think it's an important film, clearly, but Terry Gilliam ripped it. I mean, which is interesting, Terry Gilliam, the director of Monty Python fame, but, Brazil, which I think is a brilliant film, didn't make this list, by the way. Marcus, you guys are like, Raiders is better, Jaws is better than this. I think so, but I think this may be put on this list simply because of the subject matter. I mean, I hate to say that because it won Best Picture, so it's not like it, and it's not like it wasn't a great film or something. Again, I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment, but it seems like because of the subject matter, maybe that elevated this up a little bit higher. I don't know. It was black and white, so that's cool. And when I'm pushing a black and white book, I'm all about black and white. Okay. So Schindler's List comes in at number 8, which now I don't think there's any more controversy on this list. Now there's always controversy about placement, but I don't even know that you can argue that the remaining films on this list should not be in the top 10. Some of you might, but I think the argument is more, oh, that should have been higher than that, but we'll still see. Here we go with number 7. The Great Epic by David Lean, Lawrence of Arabia. Peter O'Toole makes his debut in this film, gets nominated for Best Actor. Poor Peter O'Toole, one of our great actors, especially in the 60s and a little bit into the 70s, but he got nominated like 5 times in the 60s. He got nominated for Best Actor. He never won. He got nominated for Goodbye, Mr. Chips. He got nominated for The Lion in Winter. He got nominated for Beckett. He got nominated for what was that weird movie where he was it was like he thought he was Jesus Christ and then he was actually Jack the Ripper or something. It was a weird film. The Ruling Class. So he got nominated 5 times in the 60s and never won. He was like Al Pacino for a while, but Al Pacino finally won, but Peter O'Toole never did. Got nominated for The Stuntman, which is also a really good movie in the 70s. And then I think he got nominated for one other movie in the 80s. I can't remember what it was. But a fine actor. Gemini Dragon says, this is the best film ever. It is up there. You could make the argument there's about 3 or 4 films that you could argue about being best film ever. And this is certainly one that it's just freaking unbelievable. And you got to give David Lean credit. And he did get credit. They won Best Picture. He won Best Director. But this was in the time before CG and all this kind of stuff, to manage this film with so many characters and armies and horses and in the desert and all this kind of stuff. It's just, this is a magnificent piece of work. It really is. John Beatty, Forrest Gump is number 1. Forrest Gump didn't even make this list. So, oh, you know what it was? It was not the Year of Living Dangerously. It was My Favorite Year. If you have not seen that movie where he plays a drunk, over the hill actor doing a live television show in the 50s, he's fantastic at it. So Okay, Beatty's trolling, saying that that Forrest Gump is better than The Godfather. Okay, so and Lawrence of Arabia it's down 2 spots. Now that's weird that it's dropping because, well, there's one reason why. We'll get to it, but I think that's a top 5 film. I mean, it's just semantics, I guess, at this point. But all right, so at number 6, this movie was number 4, and it's now dropped down 2 spots to number 6. A lot of people will always think this is the best movie ever made. It's pretty good. And it's also still, I'm pretty sure it's still, if you adjust for inflation, this is the biggest money-making film of all time still. But in terms of cultural significance, this is like huge. Creative Phase never seen Gone with the Wind. That's terrible. John Beatty says, no, I've never seen it. This is really good. And it's funny because I think it had, didn't this have 2 directors? I think Victor Fleming finished it, but he didn't start it. I don't think. This had every reason to be a disaster, and it wasn't. Like they didn't even get Vivian Leigh cast until they'd already started principal shooting, because they just could not find somebody with the beauty they needed and the performance that they needed and the charisma and all this kind of weird combination. Of course, she was, I believe, involved with Olivier at the time. I don't know if they were married or not at this point. And I think Olivier is the one who recommended her. She was tremendous in it. And the great thing about this is this incredible love story set against the Civil War. And it's like Clark Gable he won't ever, he loves her, but he only goes so far. Because she was just a spoiled little brat. And she's so self-absorbed and stuff. She won't ever really let her guard down except in moments. And then he would only give in so much. So of course they don't end up together, but it's, you see a movie like this, you think, okay, one of them is going to turn into a wimp and cower to the other one. And they never did. They just butted heads the entire film. It's pretty interesting. So anyway, highly recommend it. You should see it at least once. Well, Beatty is saying, show this movie to a 20-year-old and they will not like it. I don't know if that's true, but they will love Forrest Gump. That's true. But as we all know, sometimes great films go deeper than just pure entertainment value and cultural significance. Although you could argue that Forrest Gump was pretty culturally significant for a time. Okay, so anyway, this was at number 4 on the previous list. It's down 2 spots to number 6. This next film was number 10 and has jumped up to number 5. That's, to me, is sort of arbitrary, except I will say that this is the greatest musical of all time, and it's not even close. It's Singing in the Rain with Gene Kelly, Donald O'Connor, and a very young, I believe, 17 or 18-year-old Debbie Reynolds. This movie is awesome. And I hate musicals, but I love this movie because it's a musical comedy, and which is what I think is the only musicals that make sense to me. Or fantasy, like Brigadoon. I can live with Brigadoon being a musical because that's entirely fantasy. Wait a minute. Is this movie poster signed by Gene Kelly? It says, to Patricia Bruder, all the best, Gene Kelly. Whoa, but that's worth some money. Gemini Dragon Blazing Saddles was better. Oh, give me a break. Look at Beatty. You're a freaking film troll, man. He's in there just, I'm telling you, I don't disagree with this. This is in my top 10 movies. I'll tell you which in my top 10 list of movies, my favorite movies, it's not on this list. It should be, is Young Frankenstein. Young Frankenstein is one of the 100 best films ever made, and it should be on this list, and it's not. But this is, if you have not seen this, if you haven't seen this recently, then you should not be commenting, because you've got to see this movie objectively. The dance numbers are incredible. Gene Kelly's incredible. Sid Charisse is incredible in it, in the one scene that she's in. This movie is funny. It has a fun narrative structure, and the way they integrate the dance numbers, and the dance numbers are nuts. They're so, I don't even know how these guys, the physical shape these guys had to be in to do these dance numbers back then were just incredible. But anyway, so there you go. Donald O'Connor, Debbie Reynolds, and of course the great Gene Kelly, who I guess was a real pain in the butt to work with. So, okay. So that's at number 5. Number 4. Okay, now here we go. I got a lot to say about this one. This went from 24th on the previous list to number 4. Now I have a jaded, I'll get into this, but you know, some of you may say, oh, that's where it should be, but it's Raging Bull. Is this Scorsese's best film? Probably. Here's the thing, and why I'm so jaded against this movie. The Elephant Man came out the same year as this, okay? And I love The Elephant Man. You could argue that should be on this list. Not in the top 10, but it should be on this list. That was David Lynch, like, his debut film, really. I mean, if you don't count Eraserhead. And he was held in check by Mel Brooks, who was the producer, which when people don't know that, on not on this film, but on The Elephant Man. And so he kept Lynch from getting too weird. I mean, it was still weird, but he kept him on this kind of narrative path. And I loved The Elephant Man. I was hoping John Hurt would win Best Actor. Now, I was a junior in high school when this came out, or sophomore in high school. So I was pulling for John Hurt to win Best Actor, which he didn't. De Niro did. And I'm not saying De Niro didn't deserve it. And I was pulling for Elephant Man to be Best Picture. And of course, Ordinary People. Excuse me. Don't you just love it when a movie wins Best Picture, and then for decades after that, all they do is talk about the movies that didn't win, and the one that did win, no one cares about. And it just goes to show you how screwed up the Academy is. So this didn't win Best Picture, which is, you know, but anyway, I knew I was, you know, that De Niro was probably going to win and all that, but I was really rooting for The Elephant Man. And so I'm still kind of jaded, even though I think this is an excellent movie. Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. What do I got for that? You still think it's funny. Yeah. Okay, so yes, I'm not an animal. I'm a human being. Now, how is The Elephant Man not even on this list? Anywhere on this list? I don't know. John Beatty thinks De Niro was best in Taxi Driver, which was 77. 1986, maybe. So 4 years prior to this, which is another great movie. Of course, that was on the list, but much farther down on the list. So I don't know. And this was in black and white, right? The Elephant Man was in black and white. There's a lot of great stuff happens in black and white. And that is why you should back Barbaric Adventures, because it's in black and white. And great stuff is in black and white. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, there you go. I don't know if this should be this high on the list, but I mean, it should be on the list, but I don't know. From 24 to 4. Okay, here we go. Top 3, folks. These have been juggled for many, many years. Anna, the Star Wars girl, hates this movie, which this is a great film. This is a freaking great film, directed by Michael Curtis, Humphrey Bogart, Ingrid Bergman, Paul Heinried. You know, the Paul Heinried's part in this was, I'm not going to say, I always hate it when people say, you know who was originally going to play this? Well, who was originally considered to play this part. That doesn't mean they were going to get it and then something fell through. But Ronald Reagan was in the running for the Paul Heinried part. Didn't get it. Claude Rains is great in this. I love Claude Rains. I love Claude Rains is better as a character actor than a leading man, but I always like Claude Rains. Sidney Greenstreet, of course, in this. I think he made his debut. Was it in this or the Maltese Falcon? One of the two. This was 1942. I think the Maltese Falcon was 41, wasn't it? So he probably made his debut in the Maltese Falcon. Let me double check my dates here. Casablanca was 42. Yeah, Maltese Falcon, I'm almost positive, was 41. So anyway, I mean, what can you say about Casablanca unless you're Anna, the Star Wars girl? She thinks that Humphrey Bogart is a simp in this movie. And I'm just like, come on, man. This is, and what a great ending. So there it is. Dale agrees with me. Claude Rains, greatest character actor ever. Hide me, Reek. Hide me. Yeah, Peter Lorre didn't last long in this movie, did he? Before they came and got him. So anyway, no one seems to really disagree. I don't know how you cannot have this up there, this high. It's truly, when you start defining classics, that's pretty much right there. All right. This is oftentimes called the greatest film of all time, but not on this list, folks. This was 3 last time. Casablanca was 2 on the previous list, dropped to 3. This one jumped it. Again, it's kind of like, this gets down to some pretty narrow opinion or, fine line about, what makes something better than something else. But come on now. It's The Godfather. I love this poster too. This was not an original poster. This was later. I don't know if this was like one of those Mondo poster type things or if it was a re-release, but this is a great poster. I love this poster. So as the story goes, the original novel for The Godfather by Mario Puzo was more of a kind of a, what would you call it? A saucy adult novel. You know what I mean? It didn't have sort of the kind of depth that then Coppola comes in and works on the screenplay with Puzo and changes it into something that is, incredible. And there you go. Godfather number 2. And I know Hannah, the Star Wars girl, doesn't like this movie either. So what are you going to do? Yeah, pot boiler. Maybe that's what I was looking for. John Beatty, if it's not Forrest Gump, he doesn't want anything to do with it. He says, I cannot sit and watch this. I do it up every time. I don't. I think the characters are so interesting. And Brando, when there's every once in a while, somebody will give a mesmerizing performance that carries a film, and Brando does that in this movie. And then the other one that I think of, which I don't think is on this list either, is Amadeus, with F. Murray Abraham's performance in Amadeus, especially as the old Salieri recounting the tale. Oh my gosh, that just riveted when I watched that. His performance is so great. And I think I think Pacino's performance is really good in this as well. I mean, everybody is good in it, obviously, but those are the two guys that, but Brando's such a persona. And I know he's a horrible human being and he was a lazy bum and all these other things, but brilliant actor when he wanted to be. And he was great in this. I thought he was really riveting in Apocalypse Now too. It's like that. There's another long film, which is on this list. But you get all the way to the end, and when we finally see Brando or revealed him in that cave, and it's all in shadow and creepy, and just... So anyway, I love this movie. Just as an actor's film, but it's so well directed and it's so well thought out. There's a lot going on here. The Michael Corleone, how he just turns from this guy who didn't want to be involved in the family business to like the worst that he could, he's like just evil in this thing. So anyway. Sequential says his most overrated film of all time is drawn out and dull. What do you know? This comes from James, the B movie king, right? So anyway, there you go. Regardless of what you guys think, this is at number 2. Now, your number 1 film, which if you haven't guessed it, shame on you. It is still the greatest film ever made, and I will stand by this. It is the masterpiece by Orson Welles, Citizen Kane. Orson Welles was 25 years old when he made this film. So kind of like Spielberg making Jaws. Okay. But Jaws doesn't hold a candle to this. And I mean, now Orson Welles had already directed the Mercury Theater on radio. And of course they did the infamous War of the Worlds broadcast that some people actually believed was real. And so he was a talented writer and, actor and director of actors before he even got into this. But what you will find if you haven't seen this movie is that it's not only is the character depth and story in this film remarkable, and the twist, I don't even call it a twist ending, but the reveal at the end of the movie that sort of explains everything is genius. But the technical ingenuity of this film makes it the best film of all time. But then you put on top of it that the story is fantastic as well. It's just like, it can't be matched. The very beginning of this film, Citizen Kane dies and he drops the snow globe, right? And the snow globe rolls down there on the floor. And there's a shot of a nurse coming in the door, but it's a shot in the reflection of the snow globe. It's the most freaking unbelievable shot. And then we cut to when he was young, a boy, and his mother sold him to a banker. It's the weirdest, coldest scene I've ever seen in a movie. The dad is like too much of a wimp doesn't want the boy to go, with the banker. And I don't even understand what they were doing in that scene. I still don't. But anyway, Agnes Moorehead from Bewitched plays the mother, and then this old dude is her husband. And she definitely runs the family. But anyway, you've got this long shot focus of them inside the house signing. They start at the window, looking out the window at young Charles Kane playing in the snow. And then the camera starts backing up as they walk towards the table in the other room. And through this whole time, the scene plays out with Agnes Moorehead then in the foreground, the father in the midground kind of pacing back and forth, and then young Charles out the window in the snow, playing in the snow. The depth of that shot is freaking unbelievable. What we like to call in the cinema world is mise en scène. But there's so many great technical shots in this movie like that, of deep focus, of people, moving into close-ups, out of close-ups, and it's just, you've got to see it. And if you have not seen it, I did not see this till I went to film school, and everybody was talking about it, right? And I was like, okay, I pretended like, oh yeah, Citizen Kane, great movie. And I had never seen it, right? But I didn't want to be the guy that was in film school that hadn't seen it. So they had a library at USC where you'd go up in the top floor that you could rent out screenplays of the library. They also had movies on videotape, and you could rent the movie, and then they had like viewing rooms. You could just go in and watch it. And I went in there one Saturday morning. I got up, went to the library, rented out Citizen Kane, put it in the little TV, they had in the room, and watched that movie, and was just blown away. Now, of course, historically speaking, this movie is really about William Randolph Hearst, who was a newspaper magnate back in the day. This was 1940, I think, is when this movie. So he was like big in the 20s and 30s and whatever. And so this was a very close to reality film. It was not, he didn't masquerade this as anything other than what it was, which is an indictment on William Randolph Hearst. And so Hearst controlled all these newspapers, and he would not let them run ads for this movie in any of his newspapers, which really hurt his chances of winning Best Picture. So this didn't win Best Picture. He got nominated for Best Picture. Orson Welles got nominated for Best Actor. John Ford's How Green Was My Valley. You guys talk about The Godfather being boring. Have you ever sat through How Green Was My Valley? And not only is that a boring film, and I love John Ford, but it was the most pointless movie I shouldn't say it like that, but it was pointless. The movie just ended, and you're like, what am I supposed to take from this? And so it's this joke that How Green Was My Valley won Best Picture instead of Citizen Kane. It's an absolute joke. It's one of the biggest robberies ever in the Academy Awards, and there's been a lot of them. So anyway, that's just me blustering about the greatness of Citizen Kane. And Beatty brought up, look at that. John Beatty says Orson Welles and him share the same birthday, May 6th. How about that? Beatty brought up in the chat Touch of Evil, which is, again, a remarkably well done technical film. The opening shot of that, where the guy places the bomb in the car, holy smokes! It's like a 6-minute dolly shot or something, and just the way to they had to orchestrate, the people on the cars driving on the street. It was incredible. But that's a good movie, even though Charlton Heston playing a Mexican detective doesn't really ring true. But anyway, it's a very interesting, seedy drama, which they called most of Orson Welles' movies flawed masterpieces. This one, though, is a masterpiece. It is not flawed. Gemini Dragon agrees with me. How Green Is Your Valley is boring, dull, and yes, it's effing pointless. Yeah, there's like the guys die on the, it's a coal mining town, and they die on the elevator coming, and the last scene, and you're like, okay, so I'm taking what from this movie? I'm not sure what John Ford was going for with that. I'm not saying it wasn't well directed otherwise, but yeah, anyway, this is and should be always considered the greatest film of all time. And it was number one on the last list, and it's still number one on their list. And I don't know how you don't make it number one all the time. All right, that wraps up, you guys, our journey through the American Film Institute's top 100 films of all time. I think probably what we should do before we completely put this to bed is take a quick look back through the titles, so we can all go to bed tonight pissed off. So, okay, so here's the list. We started Ben-Hur at 100, Toy Story, Yankee Doodle Dandy, Blade Runner, The Do the Right Thing, The Last Picture Show, Pulp Fiction, French Connection, Goodfellas, Sophie's Choice, Swing Time, very strange that it's in there, Bring It Up Baby, I'm sorry, The Sixth Sense, Bring It Up Baby, 12 Angry Men, excellent film, Platoon, Night at the Opera, Easy Rider, Titanic, questionable, Sunrise, Spartacus, The Apartment, Wild Bunch, Modern Times, great movie, All the President's Men, there's Forrest Gump. I guess it did make the list. I'm sorry, John, I'd forgotten. It was at 71 in the original list and has dropped 5 spots. So Forrest Gump is on its way down. In the Heat of the Night, questionable. Good movie, but questionable. Silence of the Lambs, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Shawshank Redemption. I think a lot of people think that's the greatest film ever made, so I guess it should be on this list. There's Saving Private Ryan. Okay, it did make the list. I forgot about that. That's 71. That really was a good film. I can't watch it again because of that. You know what Spielberg did in Saving Private Ryan is he made the death scenes where people died. It really felt like people were dying. You know, it wasn't rose-colored glasses at all. It was really brutal. Clockwork Orange, Tootsie. I question this movie being on the list at all, even though it's a great comedy. And I guess, I don't know, for cross-dressing movies, it sort of set the bar. And Bill Murray, fantastic supporting role, uncredited supporting role. He's great in this. But I don't know. Unforgiven definitely should be on there. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Raiders of the Lost Ark should be a lot higher than that. African Queen, Network, Cabaret, American Graffiti, Sullivan's Travels, which was new to the list, and I have not seen, but I'm going to go see because I love the premise of this film. About a filmmaker a rich guy who wants to make a movie about poor people during like the Depression era or just after the Depression, and becomes a poor person himself in order to kind of understand their plight. And Veronica Lake's in it. It's supposed to be really funny. I've not seen it, but I'm going to. Duck Soup. Should Duck Soup be this high? I don't think so. Nashville. I question this. The Gold Rush, classic. Rocky, of course. Jaws should be way higher. North by Northwest could be higher. MASH. I haven't seen the whole thing, so I reserve judgment. Deer Hunter. Taxi Driver could be higher. West Side Story should be way lower. Lord of the Rings. Intolerance. I haven't seen it. Of course, it's pretty well-known silent film. Rear Window should be way higher. Streetcar Named Desire. Happened One Night. Perhaps the greatest romantic comedy of all time. Shane. Philadelphia Story. You want to talk about an overrated film? I think Philadelphia Story is an overrated film. But it's good, though. I mean, I like it, but I'm just saying. Midnight Cowboy. Bonnie and Clyde. King Kong, the original. Sound of Music. Ugh. Dr. Strangelove. Treasure of Sierra Madre. Really good movie. Just saw it recently for the first time. Best Years of Our Lives. That it indeed takes you the best years of your lives to watch it. It's so long, but it is good. Bridge on the River Kwai, excellent film, could be way higher. Annie Hall, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, way too high on my list, but deserves to be there. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, The Godfather Part 2. How can The Godfather be number 2 and The Godfather Part 2 be all the way down at 32? Doesn't make much sense to me. The Maltese Falcon, 1941, great. Apocalypse Now, great. Double Indemnity, great. All About Eve, great. High Noon, great. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, great. Probably shouldn't be that high, though. To Kill a Mockingbird, great. E.T., way too high. Grapes of Wrath, never seen it. Some Like It Hot, probably too high. Chinatown, It's a Wonderful Life, probably too high. On the Waterfront, The General, not even sure it should be on this list. The Graduate, seems high to me. Sunset Boulevard, brilliant. Space Odyssey, you can argue about that all day long. Psycho, Star Wars, The Searchers, perhaps the best Western of all time. City Lights, very questionable that it's this high. Wizard of Oz, Vertigo, Schindler's List, Lawrence of Arabia, Gone with the Wind, Singing in the Rain, Raging Bull, Casablanca, Godfather, and of course, Citizen Kane. So that is your top 100 films of all time, according to the American Film Institute. And let me just throw this in as a side note. Okay. All right. To see, this is the kind of thing. Blazing Saddles should not be on this list. Young Frankenstein should be. It's a Mad, Mad, Mad World is not a top 100 film. An American Pie, come on, man. Okay. Spielberg had the most top 100 films at 5. So does that make him the greatest director of all time? I don't know. I do love Spielberg, but then we have a tie in second place between 3 directors. Hitchcock had 4. Kubrick had 4. Billy Wilder had 4. Now I tend to lean Billy Wilder because Billy Wilder has so many great films, and like half of them aren't even on this list. So I mean, you could argue any 4 of these guys, you know, the greatest directors of all time. In case you're interested, William Wyler had 2 films. John Huston had 3. John Ford only had 2. The Searchers and Grapes of Wrath. Howard Hawks just 1. That was Bringing Up Baby, which is a great film. Chaplin had 3. I'm not arguing that I just don't like the placement of Chaplin's films on here. I think Modern Times is probably too low, and I think the other 2, Gold Rush and City Lights, are too high, but what do I know? Sidney Lumet, who's a freaking awesome director. Of course, he has 2 on this list. Dog Day Afternoon, if you haven't seen that movie, it's a great movie. And then The Verdict with Paul Newman, another freaking great film. That wasn't on this list. Hitchcock, of course, with 4. Capra had 3. Scorsese had 3. And Coppola had 3. And George Cukor just 1. There you go. That's your breakdown of directors. So there you go. That's AFI's Top 100. That'll end this segment. And next week, we're going to start exploring the history of the Academy Awards, which you want to talk about controversy. That should be good, fun times. Gemini Dry, you're right. You could not make Blazing Saddles due to its subject matter. Can't make It's a Mad, Mad World because the cost, pull all the talent, would be impossible to do today. Probably. Blazing Saddles, though, written by Richard Pryor, who you could say didn't give 2 Fs to anybody about anything. And he was supposed to play the Cleavon Little part, but his drug and alcohol problems kept him from being reliable enough to do the film. So, but he did write that screenplay, or at least was one of the writers on the screenplay. Okay. Now I just think you're high, Spaceman, on this. If you look at the list, if you go just Google the films of Billy Wilder, there's so many great films, and he was a writer-director, not just a director. And so maybe we should categorize him as the best writer-director ever, because he really looked at himself as more of a screenwriter than a director. But you know, you could say he just did a competent job directing great screenplays that he wrote, and you know what, I could probably go along with that. All righty. What do we got next? Oh, okay. Let's take a look at some artwork. Why not? It's part of what the show is all about, even if it's my artwork. All right. We have got a healthy number of people watching right now. And I would like to take a moment. Oops, I got a couple super chats. Let me grab these. Stealth for $2 says, hello. Thank you, Stealth. Appreciate it as always. Randy Howell dropping a little bit more money my way, $2. Question from John Platt. I'll repost it below. I think I got that, didn't I? About the shipping? I think that's probably what you were getting at. Okay. I don't even know how to answer that. I do deliver everywhere. There's some really weird stuff going on with their shipping stuff, and I may not have filled everything out right, but I get to go redo the shipping when the campaign ends. So hopefully we'll solve any of the mysterious problems there. But I do ship everywhere, so don't worry about it. Wherever you live, if you want the books, back the books, you'll get the books. Okay. So I'm going to bring this up really quickly here. So we have over 300 people watching right now. You're going to have to add a 0 and then some. Barbaric Adventures is what I'm plugging for the next month and a half. This is I won't go through the entire campaign again because I do want to get to some artwork, but I'm going to show you some stuff that relates to this. So I do want to drop this in here right now. It's a 64-page black and white magazine / book. It's 8.5 by 11, square bound. It's going to be on better paper than Savage Tales was, but it's got 3 stories in it. One by me called Primal Zone, which is a dinosaur caveman adventure story, interdimensional travel, basically what you'd consider good, wholesome family fun. There's my painted cover. That's one of your options. David Williams' stories about a young knight battling some demons, and that is the second cover option you have. Dan Lawless takes us to Mars that was terraformed, built up into this great futuristic society, and then fell into chaos. And now it's just a weird mix of barbarism and sci-fi. It's really cool. It's some great artwork. And then, of course, I had the incomparable Joe Jusko do me a cover featuring Freya, the Ice Princess, and Yeti Slayer. She has a short preview story by me in this book as well. It's 8 now, like I said, it's 8.5 by 11, large format. There's all sorts of good stuff. To get to ordering, you have to scroll all the way to the bottom of the page. You can see all this good stuff that's on there as part of the campaign. I would really encourage you guys to check it out if you haven't. Then you get down to where you can actually order stuff. And then beyond that is the add-ons. So you pick a reward or the reward, I guess what they're calling them, that you want to get. And then you can add other things on that are from the campaign, but also from my older campaigns. Wraith of God 1, 2, and 3, Kit Carter, Garbage Man, Power Cubed, all that good stuff. You'll find a link in the description of this video that'll take you right to the campaign page. And also there is a link pinned to the top of the chat here on YouTube. If you're on Twitter or X, as they call it now, you can just run over to Indiegogo and type in Aaron Lopresti or Barbaric Adventures. It'll take you right to there. And also you can just go to my homepage on X and there's a link there. Should add some sketch covers from all 3 of you to pick from, says Stealth for $5. I'm not opposed to that. So I just put in a piece of original artwork. And since we're getting into my flat files, let's do that right now. Speaking of art. So I started this piece on Graybeard Studio when we launched the campaign. I barely got it pencil roughed out, because I had a lot on my mind. So then I did a couple of draw streams promoting Barbaric Adventures while working on this piece. And here's the finished piece. And so I finished it, put it up on the campaign page, and thank you. It sold in 5 minutes and it was gone. So I put it up on the campaign and it's now gone. So I will be doing more stuff like that and putting it up there for you original art collectors. They want to get some barbaric kind of artwork, cave girls and dinosaurs and cavemen and all that kind of stuff. So be looking for more of this stuff coming up on the campaign page. But anyway, so that's what I did over this week. And I like to go back and dig into the flat files and show you guys some stuff that's sort of relatable to what's relatable to Barbaric Tales. So letting you know, this isn't my first rodeo. Now, some of you may remember, this is just a page. I always try to keep at least one page from every story I do. And this was Future Quest Presents. And this was a Herculoids story. And so you got the kid, what's his name? I can't think of his name. It's not Dorno, is it? No, what's his name? Anyway, he's riding a dragon, getting chased by a robot. This is the kind of stuff I love to do. But anyway, I kept this page because, you know, I did like the extra little fun stuff in the background. And, you know, there's no rhyme or reason for why I'll keep a page from a story. Just I liked it, and this is one I liked. But as you can see, you got jungle action. You got, well, you know, that Zoc, the flying dragon thing is kind of a dinosaur. So it kind of, I think it kind of relates to Barbaric Adventures. So I wanted to share that. Now, this was what happened to me mostly in the 90s. I spent a lot of time coming up with concepts because I was constantly trying to pitch my ideas to Marvel and DC, and they were not interested in my ideas. But one of them I had this sort of, I thought, what if like you took a team of characters like the X-Men and had them crash land on a dinosaur planet? Well, then that evolved into just these two astronauts, you know, this male and female, the only ones that survived their little rocket ship, their little Buck Rogers rocket ship crashed. And they end up on this dinosaur kind of John Carter world. And so this was a concept I had. And it actually evolved from Primal Zone, which was my original concept. And then I took elements from Primal Zone and I put it into this. And this ended up being a poster for a show. And I have shown this before, I know. Some of you guys are going, I've seen that before. But I did a show in Germany, in Dortmund. And one of the deals was for them to pay to bring my wife out. I had to do the poster for the show. So I did this. And I also colored it. But this, of course, is the black and white for the poster. And so anyway, that's part of an evolution of Primal Zone that never got to a point. And I decided to go back to the original concept of Primal Zone, or at least part of the original concept. Now, this is the double page spread. There's our hero, Carson Taylor, and there's the cave girl, Celia, riding on the back of his little retro, looks like a 1950s car flyer thing. And of course, there's a nice T-Rex. So this is from the original story I did. It was an 8-pager, and it never been published. So this entire story, this 8-page story with this double page spread, is going to be published in Barbaric Adventures #1, along with my brand new Primal Zone story. So you'll be able to sort of take a look at what I did here originally, and then how I've changed it over the course of 25, 30 years, whatever it's been, to what it is now. And so there's a lot of similarities, but there's some obvious things that are different that you'll just have to read the story to find out. But anyway, so it was me kind of trying to channel my best Frazetta, with all those heavy shadows and stuff. I probably actually looked at some Frazetta stuff to get some ideas on, shadow placement on the face. And look at that little pterodactyl thing up there. This is good fun, man. This is stuff I really, really enjoy drawing. And I just can't tell you guys how confident I am that this book is going to be crazy good. So don't miss it. We've got 250 some backers right now, but we got 340 people watching right now. All you guys should back. That's what I say. So the inspiration for it was these type of magazines, right? Savage Sword, Savage Tales. And what I'm going to do is, now, These are stapled at the spine, right? Mine will not be. Mine will be more like this Creep Show, which will be square bound, right? And some of you remember Mad Magazine started going square bound. And I want to say that Creepy and Eerie Magazine were all square bound, I think, too. It's going to be, you know, this is newsprint and really flimsy paper. It's going to have more heft to it. Mine is. But what I am going to do kind of to bring back the memories, at least for me, every one of these magazines would have an inside, a pinup on the inside front. Kind of Gary Martin will be providing that for this. And I'm going to do my table of contents just like this. Except, of course, it'll say Barbaric Adventures. It won't say Savage Sword of Conan. And it won't say Stan Lee. It'll say Aaron Lopresti Presents. So just kind of a fun throwback thing. And then they have like a map of the Hyborian Age or something here. But that's not going to be there. But I don't know exactly what I'll put there at this point. And then the story will start, you know, right there on page 3. This is Neil Adams and the Tribe. Can't get enough good Neil Adams stuff. So anyway, I mean, you can really do some really cool stuff in black and white. So, and that's kind of what we're going for. And they always had one backup story. We're going to have multiple backup stories because there was a lot of, in these magazines, there were 64 pages, which Barbaric Adventures is going to be, but they had a lot of like text articles, you know, that we're not going to have. We're going to just be jam-packed full of story. The King Cole glossary. You know, little pinup sections and things like that. But you guys are going to get your money's worth in terms of story. Then they would come in with a second feature, and this was a Solomon Kane story. I don't know who drew this. Oh, David Wenzel again. So I don't know who David Wenzel is, but he did some stuff in the back. He did some Solomon Kane stuff. So anyway, that's kind of what we're going for. Unfortunately, we will not have really killer ads like this in it. Although I should do an ad like this. That would be kind of fun. Maybe I will. Who knows? But anyway, so that's kind of what Barbaric Adventures is based on, that concept. But we're going to be much more high-end in the printing and production value of the book than those were. So there you go. Again, please consider backing this project. Like I said, there's 340 of you watching right now. We have 262 backers right now. It looks like we just got a couple more. We are right now. Wow, look at that. If I can coerce one more person to back during the show, look where we're at. We're less than $100 away from 22,000. So, you know, one big backer or a couple backers get us right there. Be the guy, and we'll celebrate you wildly in the chat. So link is in the description of this video. It's also pinned to the top of the chat. And you can also just go to Indiegogo and type in Aaron Lopresti or Barbaric Adventures, and it'll take you right there. So let's see if we can get this to 22K before this show is over. How about that? Thank you for your attention. And that's just some of the artwork that I've got going on. Did you guys see this, by the way? Some of you may have. Some of you may not have. But I turned out pretty well, so I'll share it with you. This has nothing to do with Barbaric Adventures, but this is my Black Lantern zombie Superman that I did on King's last Monday and then sold it during the King's auction. So it came and went very quickly, but I was pretty satisfied with how it came out. Kind of fun if you're into zombies, I guess, or especially if you're into zombie Superman. So anyway, there you go. That's a little look into my flat files this week. Now let's take a look. Some comic book covers that I had nothing to do with, but I fully support. We have leapt from the 80s. We're well into the 90s now. And I thought, you know what? My friend from way back, Bart Sears, guy recruited me to CrossGen, actually. And I've always been a fan of his work. And I thought, let's take a look at some of Bart's covers. I was like, does Bart have enough really good covers to do a segment on them? And you know what? He had plenty of good covers. So let's take a look at some of them right now. Before we get to the comic stuff, there's a little, I want to share, take a look, just a slight look at Bart's contributions to Wizard magazine. Now, if you remember, there was a whole period of time, I don't know how many issues it went, maybe like the first 20 issues, had a ton of covers that you looked at and went, oh, that's Bart Sears. And then you looked and saw it said Whitman, and you went, who's Whitman? Well, it turns out that's Bart Sears. But he was on contract with somebody, either DC or Marvel, or somebody that would not let him do the Wizard covers. So he did them under a pseudonym. And it's awesome. So he did all these really cool covers for Wizard under the name of Whitman. So how about that? Yeah, John Beatty says, as if it wasn't obvious. Well, that's the way I was. I was kind of like, God, that looks like, and then I just thought, well, somebody's, ripping off Bart Sears. So that was one of my favorites, that one. And then this one I thought was really good too. One thing I really liked about Bart's covers is all of his guys are just ridiculously jacked, but he gave them such weight and depth with how he placed his shadows and stuff. So that's a really cool Wolverine piece there. But he did a ton of these covers, and I just wanted to feature a couple of them real quick. Okay. I don't know if this series went nowhere. In fact, I don't think Christopher Priest was a big fan of Bart, the way Bart was drawing this book. But again, he did this Captain America and Falcon series. I think this was right after CrossGen. We were all leaving CrossGen. And I just loved it because it's like, look how jacked the Falcon is and how jacked Cap is. I mean, they're just mutants. I just love it. And I think Machine Gun Rob Hunter inked these. We all remember Rob from Disappearing on Us, but there you go. I mean, it's pretty simple, straightforward. It's just two guys posing, but it's because it's Bart's over the top anatomy. I suppose you either love it or you hate it, but I love it. So we'll start with that and work our way up. Now, of course, these are just some of my favorite Bart Sears covers. I'm not putting them in any order. You may, your mileage may vary, of course. Let's see. Michael Bancroft, congrats on the Barbaric Adventures launch, Aaron. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that. Michael's all the way over in Australia. And no doubt locked in a life and death battle with the giant spider, even as we speak. Okay. Gemini Dragon says Red Wing is on the juice too. I know they're all like on HGH or something. All right, let's take a look at he did a Dark Knight, Legends of the Dark Knight story. Called Faith. And I remember liking this cover a lot. And again, it's just look at that arm. I mean, it's so like ridiculously jacked. But I just Bart, though, it just there's so much weight to it, you know. It's like you could reach out and squeeze those thighs. Please don't clip that. But anyway, look at that arm, man. It's like a tree trunk. I don't know. I just think it's cool. And so that was one of my favorite. But I actually liked the cover to the first issue better, even though it's not dynamic in that sense. It's more of a posy cover, but I like what he did with Batman here. So he's got this whole gang of guardian angels or whatever behind him. But I love that. I love how he drew Batman there, kind of hunched over. We assume maybe his arms are crossed in front of him. We don't know because we can't see it. It's all silhouetted, but I just thought it was really impactful. I really like that cover a lot. Yeah, I mean, people are talking about, anatomy is, you can sit there and complain all you want about if someone drew the anatomy correctly, but it always comes down to how cool does it look, not how correct it is. And we've always got to remember that when it comes to comics. It's always about how cool it looked. And I thought that Bart Sears had a way of putting real weight and coolness to his characters. So, of course, he had a epic run on Justice League Europe, which was that became my favorite book. I was reading Justice League. I didn't pick up Justice League till Adam Hughes started drawing it, but I liked it. But Justice League Europe, I jumped on it when the first issue came out, and that's kind of really where I discovered Bart's work, and I really liked it. And I liked the artwork. And I liked the lineup, it was very eclectic. And so this ended up becoming my favorite of the two books at that time. Sequential Treasure says you have to know the rules before you can break them. And that is very true. And he's using Bart Sears as an example of that. This is one of my favorite issues from that run. So they go to Europe and they are set up their embassy or their headquarters, and they have to go to a night class to take, I guess they're learning the local language. I can't remember were they in Paris? I can't even remember, but they're learning French or something. Now they didn't go in their costumes because obviously you're not going to put a bunch of heroes not in their costumes on the cover of the book, even though that's how it plays out. But the story is so funny because it's like was it the Injustice League or some goofy, they were there taking lessons too. So they're in the class with each other and didn't even know that the Justice League was there and the Injustice League was there. It was, I don't know. I liked it. It was funny. So yeah, they were taking French, but I love this cover. Again, he's got this, whoever the teacher was, her legs framing the class, very well designed. This is probably my favorite cover. It's very simple, stark white background, but again, just this hulking figure of Metamorpho. And with the baby carriage back there, I just thought it was a really effective cover. Again, one of those covers that kind of sticks out because of its simplicity and its boldness. And I will say that I was not a Metamorpho fan until I saw Bart draw him. And then I thought he was the coolest looking thing ever, which then inspired me to do my Metamorpho miniseries for DC that I wrote and drew. Unfortunately, I had multiple inkers on it because everybody kept flaking out on me. But I thought the story was pretty good, even though I had a lot of guys pushing. I shouldn't say that. What I should say is I had I was pushed into adding a lot of stuff to the story that was not originally there. But I was able to make it work. And I'm still pretty happy with the story. I was unhappy with the unevenness of the art. And then I got discouraged because inkers kept quitting. And so I wasn't putting as much effort into the art as I should have been because I was just pissed. But I think the first 2 issues of the miniseries are really, really good. No, I liked Ramona Fradon. I just like the way Bart drew the character. I sat next to Ramona Fradon at a San Diego Comic-Con, and she had original art. Like, she had Metamorpho pages, like from back in the day. And I didn't buy one, and I'm such an idiot for not doing that. Oh, well. Now, Bart did some cool stuff. Like, a lot of us did, in some cases, did our best work at CrossGen. And Bart was doing some interesting stuff. Although Bart's not, how should we say, hyper motivated to do a lot of work. So he didn't do a ton there. He took over art direction, but he would do covers. And he was doing this series with Ron Mars called The Path, which was like the samurai thing. And I always liked this cover. I mean, it's just this samurai dude just sitting there. But I really, really like it. I just think the armor and everything is so decorative and so involved and probably really accurate that, the white mustache is this dark, bright spot. It's just, I don't know. I can't even explain why I like this cover so much, but I do. And so that's why it's on this list. Bad Adam 12 for $10. Thank you, Bad Adam. He says, I started collecting Justice League International because of Kevin Maguire and how he drew the faces. Yeah, he's very expressive. He was the guy that, I think got credit for bringing this sort of really next level acting to the characters. Anyway, his expressions were fantastic to me. No one else did that. Characters' mouths in mid-sentence. Yep. And then Adam Hughes sort of carried that on. And then I picked that stuff up from Kevin and from Adam and tried to incorporate stuff like that into my work, although I didn't do it nearly as well as Kevin did, or Adam for that matter. Now he says you collected JLA International. Did you collect my Justice League International from the New 52? I should hope so. Bad Adam 12. I should hope so. But thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it very much. What do we got here? Oh, I always like this cover too. Now, this was Bart's run on this series was very short and sweet, but I mean, just look at how jacked and like out of control the Human Torch looks. And of course, the Silver Surfer's all jacked. I don't know, man. Like I said, I would buy. There's very few artists that I would buy whatever they drew. Bart Sears is one of them that I would buy whatever he worked on because I don't know. There's just a certain amount of energy and over the top comic book ness, if that's even a word, or that is in his work that I just cannot resist. Alan Davis is a guy I would always buy. Bart was one I would always buy. I'm sure if you go back to Neil Adams and Wrightson and things like that, but in terms of more modern guys, I'd always pick and choose artists on, depending on what title they were on. But Bart, I didn't care what he drew. I'd pick it up. And so I love this. I think he only did didn't he only do 3 issues of this or something before he was off this book? But so anyway, I love that cover. This is probably, it's almost infamous, but it's probably his best known cover. And that's the infamous Turok #1 from Valiant. Came out at the very, just when the boom was starting to bust. This, I believe it still sold 2 million copies to retailers, right? Because that's what they do. That's how the direct market works. You're not really selling to the fans, you're selling to the retailers, and the retailers are then selling it to the fans and the readers. So 2 million copies of this, if you remember, and the sell-through was not great. And so this book was in everybody's bargain bin. I mean, it was actually turned kind of a joke, but it's still a great cover. And it was a holograph or something, wasn't it? I think it was. Yeah, Headless Bourgeoisie says Alan Davis covers is a great idea. I haven't got to Alan Davis yet. We still have many artists to go through. And then we're going to end the cover series with my covers, which don't really hold up to all these other guys, but hey, it's my show. So anyway. Now, I will say this. If you want to read a single issue, if you pick up Man of War, what was that character's name? It was Exo, Man of War, right? If you pick up the first issue by Ron Mars and Bart Sears, it's like you open the first issue and it's like this barbarian story. So it's freaking awesome. And it has a tremendous twist at the end, if you haven't read it. Now, I think I read maybe, because I don't know how many, again, I don't know how many issues Bart actually drew. I think just a couple. But I remember that being one of the single greatest, my favorite issues of all time, because I was just like, I don't know what this is, but it's freaking cool because it had this barbarian storyline in it. And then it had this really surprising, to me anyway, twist ending at the end. So Man of War #1 with, or maybe it was 0 issue. Anyway, the one runs Ron and Bart Sears. And the last one we're going to take a look at here is, this is more recent, but still cool. I love guys in their 60s like me and Bart still doing high quality work. Look at this for Conan. I assume this is for the Titan Books Conan, the more recent Conans. Yeah, Zub's writing it, so yep. What a great cover. I mean, I love it. I like Jeff Isherwood's stuff. Grimberg was kind of like stylistically was all over the place. So he was imitating Mignola for a while, and I guess trying to figure out something that would stick long term for him. I'm trying to focus on guys that I think, I mean, everybody did covers like I did, which is shocking to even say this because I couldn't believe it when I counted them up. I've done like 240 covers in my career. But people aren't going to look at me and say, oh yeah, Aaron Lopresti was one of the great cover artists of our time, you know? So I'm trying to focus on guys that were known as well as cover artists, as well as interior guys. So anyway, there you go. There is Bart, our little look at Bart Sears's covers. I should also do one. I should do one on Jusco, because of course Joe contributed a cover to Barbaric Adventures magazine, which of course I am promoting here today on the show. And but he's primarily a cover artist, you know, so I don't spend a lot of time sitting around researching or anything. It's like we were at watching our grandkids yesterday all day. So I get home Saturday night at probably 9:30, and I'm sitting down going, "Oh my gosh, I got a show tomorrow." So I do all my prep like from 10 o'clock till 1 a.m. or whenever I got done prepping for the show. So I should be a little more organized, but I'm not. And I'm not even writing down who the people we've already covered in covers. So it's like I have to go, oh, did we do Frank Miller already? Have I done Silvestri? And so very slipshot. But yeah, there's guys that I've got to remember to get in there that we haven't done yet. So we got plenty of time. So we'll just keep doing them every week until I decide I've had enough. All righty. Well, guys, it's not the end of the show, but it's the final act, shall we say, and it is once again time for well, it's a brand new year, 2026. We're 3 months into it. January, February, March. We're in almost 3 months. Well, we're in the third month, but we haven't completed 3 months yet. But that means there's lots of new Bigfoot material surfacing. Of course, we don't know with AI and everything, but we can't leave any stone unturned in our search for the truth about Bigfoot. So we're going to take a look at some videos today, see if maybe anything we can find there might convince us that Bigfoot is out there and that we need to establish contact with him. Now, you may have seen or heard, I guess I should say, Liam brought this up on Kings last week, to which I commented, this is the first thing he said that I actually believe. He was talking about some found footage or something. There's a new documentary coming out that's supposed to debunk the Patterson-Gimlin film. And if, I'm sure most of you are aware of it, but let's just run the Patterson-Gimlin film quickly here so you know what we're talking about. This is the original. It's not the first Bigfoot film. The Ray Wallace film is, but that was proven to be a hoax. So this is, of course, the most controversial one. And of course, this is the original footage. This is not AI stabilized or anything else. This is what we saw with them in their Super 8 or 16 millimeter camera, whatever they used. And that's the one that started the whole Bigfoot craze in 1967, I believe. And there it is. So anyway, this documentary is coming out that is supposed to finally lay to rest the controversy of Bigfoot, at least in terms of the Patterson-Gimlin film, saying that basically it was a hoax, which is not, it shouldn't be a shock to any of us at this point that is a hoax. But some people still believe it. And this allegedly, no one's seen the film yet, or I guess a couple of people have, or I don't know what the deal is, why it hasn't been shown yet. But there's this documentary that apparently they found test footage of these guys doing a practice run in the costume and all that kind of stuff before they actually shot that. So we shall see when that comes out. But there's a dark cloud hanging over the Bigfoot legend right now. But that doesn't stop people from turning on their trail cams and then checking them the next day and finding amazing things. I call this one Snowy Bigfoot. You can call it whatever you like, but here we go. Let's take a look. This is just a photo, of course, and right there is our Bigfoot guy right there. See the nose and the eyes and the mouth, but I love the white hair. Is this an albino? Is it a Yeti, perhaps? I don't even know where this footage allegedly is from. Could this have been from a Rankin and Bass Christmas special? I don't know. But that's pretty much it. It's just a still photo. But here's the thing, right? Okay, so we get these alleged trail cam photos, right? And I don't know how often the trail cams take a picture. I think they only take a picture when they get like movement or something that triggers them. So if Bigfoot here or Yeti or whatever he is moving through the frame, whether he's peeking out behind a tree or why don't we all just have the one photo? Where's the rest of the photos? That's what makes me always reluctant to believe any of this stuff. Well, I have a multitude of reasons not to believe it, but someone trying to impress upon me that this might be legitimate, it's kind of, okay, well, where are the other photos then? Thank you. There would be many photos. Agreed. Randy Hall says that Yeti is hiding from Freya. Indeed, he is, because he's getting his head lopped off. Now, Dale's saying that looks a little bit like Gary. Interesting. That's what I was asking. Who mounts a game camera out of the Dutch angle? That's what I was asking. It's like, is this an episode from Batman or something? Yep, there you go. This guy's from the Rudolph special. Now, Evil One, of course, says, no, that's a Yeti, bro. So I think maybe he's playing hide and go seek. You're not supposed to find him. Okay, I see. So we're just lucky that we got a shot of him. Now, you could be onto something there. And of course, the theory that these are interdimensional beings and that they transport in and transport out, okay, so he transported in, got a picture of him, then he transported out. So, but I don't know what he's looking at. What's he looking for? Okay. Food for thought. Let's take a look at what else we got here. This is the Ohio Grassman, which is just another name for Bigfoot. Everybody like in their own region has their like own name, like the skunk ape or whatever. But this is the Ohio Grassman, the legendary, apparently, Ohio Grassman. So I'm assuming this was filmed allegedly on in Ohio, in a forest where you see there's a trail there, a hiking trail. So let's see what he. Oh, look at him! Look at that! And he looks behind him, see if anybody's following him. That's a nice little touch there. I like that. We don't see that very often. So you have Bigfoot walking through. Now look, he goes, wait a minute, is there someone behind me? Takes a look. You got those big old arms swinging in the wind. That's a nice touch. The looking behind him. I like that. We don't see that ever. So when they were creating this image in AI, they put a little thought into it. So I give them a little credit. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, when they filmed this, they were probably shocked to see this Sasquatch be so aware of his surroundings that he thought, I better check behind me. I thought I heard something. Now, as you can see, it's crystal clear, so we have no trouble seeing exactly what he looks like. Again, critics would say, well, he's phasing in and out of dimension. That's why he's fuzzy. We don't really get the clear shot of him. What do we think about the walk here, though? Is it too casual? Is it not ape-like enough? Is it not cavemanish enough? Like I said, I do like the fact that he kind of turns. It's not just him walking, but he turns and looks. We got a little bit of acting going, a little performance art. And then he continues on behind the trees here for a while, which in a lot of cases is more film than we usually get. So I'd like to see this maybe a little sharper in focus. Dale suggesting that perhaps the Grassman hitchhiked to Woodstock to sell his wares. Could be. Didn't Teddy Roosevelt write about Bigfoot? Allegedly, yeah. And Teddy Roosevelt's a guy I would like to believe. But my biggest problem, of course, is that none have ever been captured. None have ever been actually legitimately photographed that we can prove. If you can find a giant squid, and I've said this before, if you can find the elusive giant squid, right? When they whalers catch whales that have these huge suction cup pock marks all over their noses and their bodies from these gigantic squids that foolishly attack these sperm whales at these incredible depths in the ocean. And we can get one of those. A Japanese research crew can get a giant squid on camera. We can't find a Bigfoot who's just living in the wilderness. And apparently there's tons of them because they're everywhere. Sightings are everywhere. And yet we cannot capture one or find a legitimate body of one or anything like that. So I'm skeptical. I want to believe, but I'm skeptical. Oh my gosh. John Platt, I could give you a million. I've got almost 40 Frazetta books. For the $2, £2 sterling from John Platt across the pond. Thank you. The three best books that I think came out were, what were they called? Testament. I got them right over here. Hang on a second. I'll interrupt this Bigfoot for a Frazetta break because John actually gave me money. They are called, I assume you guys can still hear me. Where is he? There we go. Icon, Legacy, and Testament. They're a series of 3 books that pretty much have got everything in them. And they were published by, doggone it. Stay with me. Published by Underwood Books. Now, Taschen also did a giant coffee table book that, if you go to the Taschen website, well, this just derailed the show, didn't it? You go to a Taschen website. Look at this Herkin thing. This is a $200 book. However, they often run sales where you can get it for $100 or $99. So this is The Fantastic Worlds of Frank Frazetta. So if you go to Taschen, you'll be able to find, that's Taschen. You'll be able to find this book. And this is pretty comprehensive. There's actually a few pieces in here that I have not seen before, which was shocked me. But there you go. Fantastic Worlds of Frazetta. But it's gigantic and it's super heavy. But I think those 3 books, Icon, Legacy, and Testament, are probably your best bet if you want to get a comprehensive collection of Frazetta work. But a single book, I don't know that there's, other than this Taschen one, that's big enough to handle all of his stuff. So there you go. Those are my professional recommendations. The Ballantine books, like The Fantastic Art of Frank Frazetta, volumes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, are pretty good as well. But some of those are expensive because they're so old, but there's multiple printings of them. So you might be able to find cheaper ones on eBay as well. There's one that Russ Cochran put out that is a collection of his romance stuff that is really good. Just romance comics, though. It doesn't have any of his other stuff. So it depends on how broad of the subject matter you want. Evil One's right. Says, don't buy Frazetta books. Buy current. Buy Barbaric Adventures, baby. That's what we're all about. So there you go. Okay, so we're back to Bigfoot. So that was the Ohio Grassman. You know, I don't even remember what this one is. Let's see. Okay, strolling Bigfoot, I call it. So I think is this the one that is kind of, okay, you're going to go? Where are you not going? Oh, for crying out loud, it's not running. Okay, well, I'll just do this. This is beer belly Bigfoot right here. I think this is so obviously AI that it's not, I almost didn't even put it up, but because there's another one very similar to this where a guy is driving down a highway and you see Bigfoot from behind. It's really good, but it's clearly AI, but it looks really good. And the stroll looks very similar. And once again, we have the same problem with this video as that we have with all the other ones. Every Bigfoot video that gets turned in, Bigfoot looks different. There's no consistency to Bigfoot, which also lends to the lack of credibility to any of these videos. Because if this was a species of whatevers, they would look similar. They would not look so drastically different every time someone photographs them. I like how he's just kind of like swaggering through the woods, you know? You know, throwing his shoulders around. Yeah, he looks like a biker who just took a piss in the woods and is going back to his motorcycle. I mean, it's just, I don't know why that wouldn't run. It's very strange. Huh. But like I said, I don't give much credence to that one because it was clearly AI. Here's one called Fuzzy Bigfoot. Oh, this is painful, but let's watch it anyway. Only because it's so fuzzy, you can't really. Let's take a look here. I mean, seriously? Oh, shoot the ground because that's what we want to see. Have we watched this one before? I kind of feel like we have, but man, it's so there's so many of them that are like this. It's hard to tell. I mean, I'm getting nothing from I mean, it's like anybody films anything nowadays, and it's like if it's dark and it's out in the woods or in a field, that's Bigfoot, or it's my neighbor walking through his field. You can't even tell. Now, I mean, I guess it was filmed at night. That's why it's so, you know, it's dark, and that's why it's so poorly focused and everything because there's no light. Gemini Dragon thinks we found Kelsey. I don't know if we can determine that by this. It's just too dark. It could be Kelsey. Yeah, but that literally could be anything or anyone. But I didn't want to deprive you guys of seeing all the Bigfoot material that's out there because you need to judge for yourself. Sure, I can be cynical up here and make fun of the whole thing, but you ultimately, in your mind and in your heart, have to decide if Bigfoot is real. Okay, now this one, this might be my favorite. This is what I call baggy Bigfoot. You can judge for yourself, as I always encourage you to do. Baggy Bigfoot, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, Okay, if that's a guy in a costume, it's look at the feet. Like it's just like it's flapping up and down. It's baggy on his, the legs look like they're pants or it's a fur suit. And if it's AI, then it's really bad because you didn't even make it look real. That looks, however it was generated, looks like a guy in a costume. Whether it's actually a guy in a costume or if it's a poor AI. But look at the feet. They're like clown shoes. And I know he's Bigfoot, but they're what should be the lower leg, the the calf area, it just looks like baggy pants. Yeah, there it is. Fat Tony says that's bell bottom Bigfoot. Walk of shame. You doesn't believe in me, but I believe in myself. I am the real Bigfoot for $2. Oh, this always happens to me. I make fun of somebody or I say something negative about another artist or somebody, and then inevitably they show up in my chat. And Bigfoot is now in our chat, and I've hurt his feelings. Oh, I feel bad. But let's make fun of him some more. It's the worst. I mean, yeah, the arms are long, but that doesn't mean the costume doesn't have extra long arms. You just have like little, little sticks of wood in there to kind of make them longer. If this isn't AI, if it's AI, it's horrible. What was the prompt? Show me Bigfoot walking across the field with baggy pants. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Fat Tony says bell bottom Bigfoot, and then the Ninja says that was the style back then. Spaceman, of course, really big Bigfoot. Iodine 74 says that dude looked like he was walking to the center of the pit at a metal show. Evil One is taking the side of Bigfoot here and saying that I should apologize to Bigfoot. I think that's what he's suggesting here. That again, there's the super chat that I do feel bad now. That maybe I'll turn over a new leaf. Maybe Henry says Bagfoot. I like it. I'm telling you. Good stuff. All righty. Now that I've completely injured the emotionally injured Bigfoot, I think we'll call it good for today. I do want to point out, Randy Hall made me aware of it, so we'll bring it up real quickly, that we did get 3 more backers, I think, look like some big money was spent there. Thank you guys very much. We're now over 22,000. And that was, we wanted to hit 22,000 before the show ended. And there we are. That means probably somebody bought some original artwork, maybe. But anyway, thank you guys for the backers we got today. Please continue to promote this and let other people know about it. It is a community effort, whether that seems fair or not. I do need you guys to continue to push it so we get more backers out there so that we can continue to do these projects. Look at it as you contributing to helping me produce the projects that you want to read. And so let everybody know we have a huge crowd today, which is great. Thank you guys for joining me. I hope to see you again next week as well. And on my other shows, Graybeards on Wednesday and Professionals on Tuesday evenings. So I do appreciate that. I appreciate all the super chats. In fact, I even appreciate Bigfoot saying for another $2, where's Bigfoot getting this money to send me, by the way? Don't you have to have like a credit card or something or a PayPal account? Anyway, he says he was walking home from community college that day. Well, okay. Now see, Bigfoot now, he's educated he went to community college, so he must have friends that he went to school with. I really feel bad now. Thank you for the $2, Bigfoot. And anyway, guys, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. And okay, I just want to make sure I got all of the super chats there. All right, guys, thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate it. Thank you for backing Barbaric Adventures. And as I said, please continue to share it, and we'll continue to push this project right to the end and finish with a big, strong flurry. And you guys will get an amazing book. I'm not kidding on that one. So anyway, enjoy the rest of your weekend this evening, and we will see you right here next time on Comics, Cryptids, and Cannonballs. Good night, everybody.